Hey, everybody, I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to My Kind of Country. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm kind of ashamed I haven't had this gentleman on my show before because I play a lot of his music, and he is a Texas legend. He's a member of the Western Swing Hall of Fame, and he's won so many great awards, one of the best in the business. He's got a brand new album out with Heart of Texas Records. It's called It's About Time, and I guess that's kind of the theme for tonight. It's about time to welcome Jody Nix to My Kind of Country. Jody, how are you?
I'm good, Scott. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's such an honor to have you, and like I said, I'm just ashamed that we haven't done this before. It's just so great to have you, and I love your music, and I certainly love your new album, and I'm anxious to share it with my listeners tonight.
You bet. I'm anxious for you to share it with them. More the better.
Absolutely. Well, folks, again, the album is called It's About Time. It's available at heartoftexasrecords.com, and, of course, all the places we stream our music. And Jody's website is jodynixmusic.com. You can also pick up a copy there. First of all, Jody, congratulations on your upcoming award with the CMA of Texas. You're going to be receiving their Western Swing Heritage Award in October, and we're going to be there to see you get that award. Looking forward to it.
Well, thank you, Scott. I'm blessed and honored. Praise God. I always give him the glory for all the good things, and just looking forward to it. It'll be a great night. Honored to be there.
Well, Jody, tell me a little bit about your career for my listeners, and give us a little bit of your history.
Okay, well, I started very young. I got my first set of drums when I was 4. I was born into a musical family. Of course, my dad, Jody Nix, I'm sure you've heard of him.
You betcha.
The legendary song, Big Balls in Cowtown. My dad, Jody Nix, my Uncle Ben, they had a band, in West Texas here for close to 40 years, a little over, until they both passed away. And like I say, I was born into a musical family, and again, if I may make this clear, I praise the good Lord. My Lord Jesus, thank you for the talent that He gave me and my family to be able to play the music that we love and to get to do it for so many years.
Amen.
And I did start learning the drums when I was 4 years old. Got my first set. They stayed set up in my grandmother's living room till I was about 16. That's where I practiced a lot back then. And when I was 8 years old, I started full-time with my dad, playing 5 nights a week all over West Texas, and I played drums for him for 25 years until he passed away. And then I either had to try to keep it going for me or just to let everything go, and I chose to try it, and 39 years later, Scott, I'm still going. So we're thankful for all the good things we get to do, and it's still getting after it. I have not slowed down one bit.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and your new album is fabulous. It's About Time, it's called, and you've got some songs that we all know and love, and you've got some new stuff on here, and tell me a little bit about the making of this great album. It's been a while for you, too, hasn't it?
Yes, sir. 10, 12 years, probably, just like the title says. It's about time. We were working on it last fall, and people had been after me. You need to record. And I said, I know. We just got to get some songs, some dates together, place where I'm going to really do it. And I talked to Jake Hooker, and he suggested Aaron Metter at Allegro Sound Lab in Burleson. And I got to talking to him, and I decided to go with him. And we had everything put together right after the first of the year, and we went in the third week in January and started recording. I think we was in the studio 2 or 3 days. We had everything tracked, and I had to go back. We had to go do fiddle parts, and I had to sing harmony and re-sing a few things. You try real hard, and sometimes you miss one and think, well, I could do it a little better than that, hopefully. So we didn't have to do too much, but I wanted it to be right and good for Tracy and for the public and for the band and me. And very, very proud of this project. My boys did a great job on it. All of my guys played on it. And we had a guest, Jake Hooker, played upright bass, with me on 90% of what we did. His son played rhythm and lead guitar, Mac Hooker, and had the fantabulous, that's a big word, ain't it? Floyd Domino on the piano. I know you've heard of Floyd.
You betcha.
He and I have been friends for over 50 years. And plus my guys and me, that rounded it out. And it just clicked, Scott. It was just a fun time in the studio building the project. And, you know, we'd run through it. Well, I like that. Well, let's do this. Wait a minute. Let's put fiddle here, steel here. Let me put harmony. Wait a minute. I want this fiddle part. You know how it is. It's like building a house. You build it as you go, but we had most of it planned out. But there was a few things we did a little different and wanted to change. And when you're in the studio, that's the time to do it.
Well, you got some great songs. Of course, a great version of Memory Maker. And, man, I love that song. Faded Love, of course, is my favorite Bob Wills song. And just some classic stuff. And you got some new stuff on here, too. Tell me about some of the new tracks you've got.
Okay, the two new ones, I call them new, was written by a friend of mine named Jerry Webb. He and I grew up together. We went to elementary school together. When I was in the second grade, he was in first. And that's how long we've been friends. I mean, that's getting to be a long time ago, sir. We were in the first and second grade. But he had already recorded these two and put them on one of his CDs, but I had not heard them. And I called him and I said, hey, man, I'm going to record. I need some new stuff. I want to send me some songs and see what you got. He said, all right, I'll do that. And I think he sent 8 or 10, maybe more. And I got to coming through them and listening. And the two that I picked out for the project is that First from the Last and When You Know How to Fall. The First from the Last is more traditional, like I do. And When You Know How to Fall is more like a 90s, like Alan Jackson. George Strait, which that's great too. I love that. I love those two artists.
You bet.
And it's just a mix of something for everybody, Scott.
It's a very, very well done album, and I love the musicianship. And I know you mentioned some of the great musicians, and Johnny Cox is playing steel on this too with you. Of course, he was a Texas troubadour and just a fabulous, fabulous player.
And a country bumpkin.
And a country bumpkin.
Cider.
Yep. And still doing great.
He's back with me full time.
Oh, that's
great. He joined
great.
back up with me right after the first year.
Oh, that's great to hear.
I've been friends with him for almost 50 years. That's probably one of the greatest steel players that ever put on a set of picks.
Absolutely.
Or not.
Dumpling is great. There's no doubt about that for sure.
Dumpling.
I want to go back to talking about your dad for a minute. You said he was not a member of the Texas Playboys.
No, sir, he was not. He was an avid Bob Wills fan. Bob Wills was his hero, and that's who my dad kind of patterned his fiddle playing style and his style of music and the way he had his band through the years. Of course, he wasn't trying to copy him per se, but he got to meet Mr. Wills in about 1952 in Colorado City, Texas, at a American Legion Hall. That's where they played every week, every other week, and they was going to book Bob Wills in, and they asked if he could switch out a night to bring Mr. Wills in. He said, oh, yeah, I'd be glad to. And, of course, he went down there to see him, and that's when he met him. It was 1952, and that was a friendship that lasted until Bob Wills passed away in 75. And they got to visiting and talking, and Daddy would book him with us out here in West Texas on a 5-day run. You know, our circuit that we did back then, maybe Brownfield, Angelo, Sweetwater, Abilene, and back here on Saturday, a full 5-day run with Bob Wills' Texas Playboys 3 or 4 times a year. They call them battle dances back then.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such a pleasure and an honor to get to be with him and the Texas Playboys, and that's how that came to be. They just became good friends, and then for the Last Time album in '73, my dad and I both were handpicked by Mr. Wills to be special guests on there, along with Merle Haggard. That you and I both know he was the biggest thing in country music in the '70s.
Yeah.
And a treasured memory, a treasured honor. There's a lot of times Mr. Wills, when he was with us, he'd come to our house and eat lunch, or and he and my dad would sit in the living room and visit and listen to old time fiddle tunes and talk, and it was just a lasting friendship.
Well,
And
that's
they
great.
liked the same thing. They liked the same kind of music. And my dad was always fair about everything with him, and we liked him and he liked us. Is that fair enough?
That's fair enough. Absolutely. I've always associated your dad's name with Bob Wills, and I always assumed he was a member of the Texas Playboys, so I stand corrected. It's good to know the story.
Well, that's fine. He was connected with Bob Wills big time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he never worked for him. He worked with him. There's a little bit of a difference, Scott.
Sure. You bet. That is one of my favorite albums of all time is the For the Last Time project, and I know that Bob was there for the first part of the session, but he had another stroke right during the recording of this, so he wasn't able to be there for the rest of the sessions, and that's a great
sir.
album.
That night after he was there the first day, stayed most of the afternoon, and a sleep at the wheel came in. They were just getting kicked off about that time.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to meet him and shake his hand as they were taking him out, rolling Mr. Wills out to go home. And then Ray Benson always talks about that. So, I did get to meet him and shake his hand and talk just 2 or 3 minutes to him. And that night, he had the massive stroke, and Betty Wills called the next day and told us what had happened. And, that was the day Merle Haggard was there, and Merle was so much wanting to be there with Bob. And it just didn't happen because, he was deathly ill. I mean, they didn't know if he was going to make it or not through the night or through the day. But the session went on as planned, and I know that's what he would have wanted us to do, for the Playboys to do. I was just a guest, 21-year-old kid standing there bug-eyed and watching and trying to learn something and listen to everything they did. That's how that came about. He didn't get to be there with Merle. He was sick.
Well, that's too bad. Were you there when Merle recorded his songs?
Oh, yes, sir. I was there from the time it started till they turned the lights out and we left the studio.
Man. That I guess that album took on a whole lot of historical meaning, and probably even more so after that happened. And I know that it was great to have Merle on there. He did the Texas Playboy theme and Yearning, and I Wonder If You Feel the Way I Do, and just great songs. That was my introduction to Bob Wills, was when Merle did the
that's good.
Did the tribute.
You got a good introduction to it.
Yeah, and Merle did his own tribute album, and I got to tell Merle that one time. I said, I really appreciated the fact that you did these tribute albums to Jimmy Rogers and to Hank Williams and Lefty Frizzell and Bob Wills, and it made me go back and listen to their music, and it turned me on.
Sure, yes, sir.
And I had that discussion with Justin Trevino. When someone takes and does some of their songs like you've done with this new album, you're carrying them to a whole new generation, and you're going to introduce them to people that might not have heard them, and the hope is that they will go back and listen to more.
Sure. I think there will always be a market for traditional country music, especially, hopefully where you live, but in Texas, because Texas people like to dance.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm known as, Scott, is a Texas dance fan.
You bet. Well, you've got a fabulous tribute to Bob Wills on this project, too.
I got that from Jimmy Wikle. Remember Jimmy Wikle from the movies?
Yep.
Cowboy singer. That came out in the 70s, and we started doing it with my dad. See, I was in my 20s in the 70s, and I sung that all the time. Well, every time he called it, not all the time, and I just think tells a wonderful story about this old couple and what they did on Saturday night. Like, it's kind of like El Paso with Marty Robbins. It's like a movie. You can just see this unfolding in your mind as the song and the story goes along. About we drive our old car clear to Tulsa, on those wonderful Saturday nights, and meet all our friends and dance till they turned out the lights, and bragging on Tommy and Bob and Leon McCullough and all the Playboys, and that was the big thing back then.
Oh yeah.
There's been a lot of tribute songs wrote about him. I wrote one called "When It's All Said and Done" back about 30 years ago, and put it on one of my CDs. But I just always liked this one. I thought, well, now's the time to do it. I won't say bring it back. I don't know how much airplay Mr. Wikle got on that. I'm sure a lot. But I wanted to do it in his honor and the honor of Mr. Wills. So that's why I included it on there.
Well, that's great. We're going to play that one along with a bunch of other cuts from this great album for you tonight, folks. It's called It's About Time, Jody Nix, heartoftexasrecords.com, jodynixmusic.com, and, of course, all the places that we stream our music. And if you get a chance to go see Jody do a show, I'm sure he's going to have copies there. And have you got a lot of tour dates lined up this summer?
Yes, sir. We've been very busy. We've had a great year and got a good fall lined up, and just blessed beyond measure. And no complaints, sir.
Well, that's great to hear. Well, we are looking forward to seeing you in October at the CMA of Texas Awards and get a chance to visit with you some more. Looking forward to it.
It'll be an honor to shake your hand, Scott.
Likewise. Well, thank you so much for taking time to be on My Kind of Country, Jody. And we're going to play some great music. I think it's about time we play some of these songs right now. Thanks for being on the show.
Okay. Thank you for having me, sir.
Am I moving too fast for you, darling? Is the future too close to the past? I hope I'm not losing you, darling. I just want to be first from the last. I know you have thoughts of an old love, and there are things we shouldn't ask. I won't be second best for you, darling. I just want to be first from the last. Did I believe you were deceiving? I should never think from a glass, 'cause it wasn't me you were leaving. It's just that I am first from the last. I know you have thoughts of an old love, and there are things we shouldn't ask. I won't be second best for you, darling. I just want to be first from the last. I just want to be first from the last. Remember the days of my young life when I first held my good woman's hand. Just an old country boy and a good wife, and the music of our favorite band. We would drive our old car clear to Tulsa on those wonderful Saturday nights. We would meet all our friends there in Tulsa, and we'd dance till they turned out the lights. I remember so well all the joys they would bring from Texas to Frisco and LA. Bob would give a yell, and old Tommy would sing, and Leon would take it away. I can still hear that old fiddle playing all the songs of the plains and the hills. I can still hear the good people saying, no one else plays the same as Bob will. My memory strays to the old times, all those beautiful songs I recall. It's so good to relive all the good times when Bob Wills was the king of them all. It seems like years and a million tears since you left the old hometown. You've changed, they say, and the Great White Way is your new stomping ground. It's plain to see you've forgotten me, for you never write or call. But I'll be around when they let you down, and I'll catch you when you fall. I'll catch you when you fall. There's no one else but you. Now you're flying high, but honey, by and by you're gonna cry for love that's true. So when your uptown baby starts giving you the stall, I'll be around when they let you down, and I'll catch you when you fall. turned your head. You're ashamed of us back home. But I'll bet the sound of a southern bound still chills you to the bone. With your haughty pose and your uptown clothes, you're not fooling me at all. When you're feeling bad, your old country lad is gonna catch you when you fall. I'll catch you when you fall. There's no one else but you. Now you're flying high, but honey, by and by, you're gonna cry for love that's true. So when your uptown baby starts giving you the stall, I'll be around when they let you down, and I'll catch you when you fall. I'll be around when they let you down, and I'll catch you when you fall. I know it's your first time to fall, with no one there to get you at all. I understand, 'cause I'm a seasoned man with these things, and I'll help you if I can. I know you're young, but you'll learn how to fly. It always makes it better to survive. Winter comes, but springtime cures it all. It won't hurt so bad when you know how to fall. It won't hurt so bad when you know how to fall. The hardest thing to do is hang in there. Sometimes you just gotta let it go. Remember, only God can save us all. It won't hurt so bad when you know how to fall. It won't hurt so bad when you know how to fall. The hardest thing to do is hang in there. Sometimes you just gotta let it go. Remember, only God can save us all. It won't hurt so bad when you know how to fall. It won't hurt so bad when you know how to fall. When you know